Minimum wage would cause a domino effect that would be negative to the economy. Raising minimum wage to $15 in Ohio would cause too many people to lose their jobs. I'm Nathan, and I'm going to try to explain to you why raising minimum wage would be a mistake. When wages are increased, prices are ultimately increased, and that is not how the economy positively progresses. Businesses would suffer, and even poverty levels would not get reduced. Minimum wage should not be raised because businesses would be compelled to get rid of employees, and it would augment unemployment levels. This is the case because businesses would not have the inclination to pay more money to the same number of employees. According to the Congressional Budget Office, a minimum wage increase of only $2.85 would cause too many people to lose their jobs. And a minimum wage increase of $2.85 would cause too many people to lose their jobs. Businesses cannot afford to pay their employees more, especially small businesses. If the minimum wage was raised to $15, businesses would have to make drastic decisions when hiring, and productivity in the economy would decrease. A survey conducted by the Congressional Budget Office was able to deduce, by surveying over 1,000 business owners, that half of them would be skeptical when hiring additional employees, even if the minimum wage was raised to $10.10, because they would know that they would be losing tens of thousands of dollars a year to keep those employees. My main point here is that businesses would suffer. Minimum wage should not be raised because merchandise and services would cost more. The economy would have to adjust itself in a major way with a change to low-skilled labor compensation. According to economist J.M. Ian Salas, the evidence points to increasing minimum wage as imposing job losses for others, and the makers of these laws need to keep this in mind. An additional economist known as David Newmark, who spent 2 decades researching the effects of minimum wage laws, stated that the problem with increasing minimum wage is that it deters employers from hiring the low-skilled workers that these wages are intended to help. I believe this corresponds with services costing more, and that is not how the economy flourishes. Plus, there will be a domino effect in which an event, such as a local city being forced to raise its rent and taxes, and liabilities such as that would have to get cleaned up somehow. Minimum wage should not be raised because it would not reduce poverty levels. It may be true that employees would be receiving more money if their wage was increased, but when businesses have to raise their prices to compensate for their losses, raising minimum wage seems like a mistake. This is the case because a Burger King Whopper will have to cost more money if the business is compelled to pay double to their workers. As explained by George Reisman, a professor of economics at Pepperdine University, when wages are increased, productivity is increased. When productivity is increased, prices are increased, and that is not how the economy flourishes. There is also to be taken into account people in poor households. The net effect of a higher minimum wage would laden these people in poor households, and if they were to lose their jobs, their net losses would be greater. The only feasible way to get out of poverty is to increase your skills in what you bring to the marketplace, and giving everyone this sense of skill seems like a mistake. Raising minimum wage would not reduce poverty levels. And a point to be made about economics is the more money workers have, they spend more and productivity is gained. Productivity leads to prosperity. The problem with this is if minimum wage was raised, businesses would refrain from hiring people and prosperity would not be as prosperous, or productivity would not be as prosperous as one might think. Businesses cannot simply print the money they give to their workers in the basement. However, a proposal that has been elicited is to provide an increased minimum wage to those who have earned their GED, meaning that they would receive an increased minimum wage because of their education. This is not something I support because in a free market, your pay is determined based on your qualifications. As explained by Ben Shapiro, host of the Ben Shapiro Show, it is not the government's job to impose their ideas in pretending that all people are equal in what they bring to the marketplace. I think this is a veridical statement because what one is able to bring to the marketplace should take precedence over whether or not one has a GED. Solutions to all of these things in the economy can be deciphered once a course of action benefits all involved. So, in conclusion, raising minimum wage would cause businesses to suffer, prices to increase, and poverty levels not to get reduced. I think a solution of getting financially ahead is not necessarily to raise minimum wage, but to offer more in the free market so you are not going to stay on it forever. So by a show of hands, how many of you would actually like to see prices increase in multiple areas because of businesses having to cut their losses? That's one of the consequences of raising minimum wage, because raising minimum wage would cause a domino effect that would be negative to the economy. Thank you for listening.
Yay. Good job. Good job.